I never thought I'd be the kind of person to stumble upon my own marriage like this. Honestly, I thought I knew everything about my wife, her habits, her dreams, even her little quirks. We'd been together for 4 years and I thought we had a solid future. Sure, we argued sometimes, but who does? I never guessed that one of our biggest secrets was hiding right under my nose. It started a week ago, right in the middle of what was supposed to be our honeymoon, or at least that's what I thought. She'd been acting strange for days, distracted in a way that didn't sit right. I'd catch her glancing at her phone a little too often, quickly hiding it whenever I got close. She'd brush off my questions, saying she was just tired or working on some project. I figured she was just stressed about the new job, or maybe she was overwhelmed with wedding planning. I wanted to believe that, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That morning I was scrolling through her messages while she was in the shower. I'd never done this before, but I was desperate for answers. My stomach clenched as I read her texts, friendly, flirtatious exchanges with someone I didn't recognize. At first I thought maybe it was just work-related, but then I saw one message that made my jaw tight. It was from her. "Can't wait to see you tonight, been thinking about you all day." And a few minutes later a reply, "Me too, I wish you were here." My heart thudded painfully in my chest. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How had I missed this? All those days I thought she was working late or at her business trip. She was with my brother, or so it seemed. I pulled back from the phone, my mind racing. I knew I had to dig deeper. I had to see the full picture. I started digging through her emails, her social media. That's when I found the messages. Hidden in her email drafts, secret exchanges with my brother, talk about a betrayal I never saw coming. They'd been sneaking around, lying about a business trip she'd claimed was in another city. Meanwhile, they'd been planning their secret meetings, exchanging intimate words, and even discussing future plans together. I read conversations filled with promises, flirtation, and even a few "I love yous." My stomach lurched. I felt the world tilt. How could she do this? How could my own wife betray me with my brother? I wanted to scream, to break something, but I held it in. All I could do was sit there, stunned, trying to process how I'd married a stranger. Because that's what I realized: she'd been lying from the start. The woman I loved, the woman I married, had been hiding who she truly was. That moment, standing in my kitchen, cold sweat trickling down my back, I knew I couldn't confront her right then. I needed a plan. I had to be smart. I couldn't just blow up everything and look like the crazy husband. No, I had to be calculated. I needed proof, a way to expose her without giving her a chance to spin her lies. I spent the next few days gathering evidence. I kept her phone, saved the messages, printed out the most damning parts. I even kept a journal of what I'd found, how I felt, and what I'd do next. It wasn't just about catching her, it was about making her see I wasn't naive anymore. I was done being played. And now I sit here waiting for the right moment. I can feel the weight of my plan building, and I know once I push the button, there's no going back. I've shown her I'm not what I seemed. Trust is shattered. She might think she's one step ahead, but she has no idea what I'm capable of when I finally decide to strike. I wonder how she's sleeping right now, or if she even cares that I've uncovered her world of lies. The only thing I know for sure is that this isn't over, not by a long shot. And when I'm ready, I'll make sure she understands exactly how much she's lost. I've kept everything close to the chest for a few days now. It's like I'm walking around with a storm inside me, waiting for the right moment. Every time I see her, I feel this boiling mix of anger and betrayal. It's like I don't even recognize her anymore, even though she's standing right in front of me, smiling that familiar smile. But behind that smile, I can see the flicker of something else: guilt, fear. I don't know, but it fuels my resolve. That night, I finally decide I'm not going to hold back anymore. The tension's thick enough to cut with a knife. When she comes into the living room, I'm sitting on the couch, feeling the weight of what I've discovered pressing down on me. She notices my silence right away. "You okay?" she asks, her voice soft but tinged with something I can't quite place. "Fine," I reply, voice cold, "just thinking." She sits beside me, trying to look innocent, but I can see the flicker of panic in her eyes. I want to rip that mask off her face. I want her to see that I know everything. "I found the messages," I say bluntly. Her eyes widen and her face goes pale for a second. She opens her mouth as if to speak, then stops. "What messages?" she asks, voice trembling. "Don't play dumb. I saw the emails, the texts, the plans. I let that hang in the air. You lied about a trip, didn't you? You were with my brother." I watch her shoulders tense, her hands clenched into fists. She tries to deny it, but I cut her off. "Save it, I have the proof, I know what you've been doing." Her face contorts with guilt, but she quickly masks it. "It's not what you think, it's complicated. Really, because what I think is that I married a stranger, someone who's been lying to me from day one. How long has this been going on?" She looks away, tears welling up, but I hold firm. "Answer me, how long?" I demand. "Almost a year," she admits softly. That's when I feel my chest tighten and I realize how deep the betrayal runs. I'd always thought I knew her. Turns out I knew nothing about her. She had me fooled, and now I see her for what she truly is: a liar, a cheat, a stranger. I stand up slowly, feeling the cold fury settle in. "I want out," I say, voice steady but bitter. "You're not the woman I married, not anymore." Her eyes fill with tears, but I turn away. I can't let her see the damage she's done. Not yet. I need a plan, a way to make her regret every lie, every stolen moment. She might think I'm just hurt now, but I'm already plotting something much colder. I head to the bedroom, feeling the weight of my decision. I'm not just going to confront her, I'm going to make her wish she'd never crossed me. I don't know exactly how yet, but I know I'll make her pay. The betrayal isn't just breaking my heart, it's breaking everything I believed in. Tomorrow, I'm going to put my plan into motion. I want her to feel what it's like to be caught off guard, to see her world unravel. Because if she thought I'd let her get away with this, she's got another thing coming. She's about to find out how it feels to have everything turn against her, and I won't hold back. I'm not the type to let things slide. I've built my life around honesty, trust, loyalty. She threw all that away, and now she's going to see how relentless I can be when I fight back. This isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming what's left of my dignity. I can't help but wonder how she's sleeping tonight, if she's even sleeping at all. Or maybe she's already planning her own escape. Either way, I keep telling myself I'll be ready, and when I strike, she'll know exactly how much she's lost. The next day I got up early, more out of instinct than anything else. My mind kept circling around her, around what I'd uncovered and around my plan. I knew I couldn't just confront her with accusations anymore. That would be too obvious, too quick. I needed to set a trap, something she wouldn't see coming, something that would leave her trembling when she realized I knew every secret she tried to hide. I spent the morning gathering everything I needed. I printed out the damning emails, saved screenshots of their conversation, and found a way to get into her phone without her noticing. I wanted her to think everything was normal. To her, I was just the hurt husband giving her space. Meanwhile, I was building my case, piece by piece. That evening she was quiet, too quiet. I could see her nerves flickering beneath her calm mask. I decided to test her to see how far I could push without tipping my hand. I sat on the sofa, scrolling through my phone, pretending to distracted. "Are you okay?" I asked casually, glancing up. Her eyes flickered with guilt, but she forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired," she said, voice too neutral. "You've been acting weird lately," I said, voice even. "Are you hiding something?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, just work stuff, nothing important." I leaned forward, fixing her with a steady stare. "You know I found your secret messages." Her face went pale. She stared at me wide-eyed, then started to shake her head. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I said. "Emails, texts, plans, I saw everything. You and my brother, how long has this been going on?" Her shoulders sagged, she looked ready to break, but then she rallied. "It's not what you think, I was just—" "Don't lie," I cut her off sharply. "You've been lying to me for months. You lied about the trip, about everything. And all the while you were with him, weren't you?" She pressed her lips together, silent for a moment. "It's complicated, I didn't want you to get hurt." "Get hurt, you're the one who's been cheating. I married someone I don't even know, do you hear yourself?" Her eyes glistened with tears, but I wasn't done. I wanted to see her crack completely. "Tell me the truth, how many times?" "I don't know," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Maybe a dozen, I didn't mean for it to go this far." That's when I felt the rage bubble up. Not just at her, but at myself for being so blind, for trusting her. I knew I had to act fast. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right, make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I stood up abruptly, feeling the adrenaline rush through my veins. "You're done. I want you to leave tonight." She looked at me desperately. "Please, let's talk." "No," I snapped. "There's nothing left to say. I'll pack your things." As she started crying harder, I grabbed my phone. I'd been waiting for the perfect moment, and now it was here. I was going to send her a message, something that would shake her to her core, something that would make her realize she'd crossed a line from which she couldn't come back. I pulled out my phone and composed a quick message to her, then hit send. It read, "I know everything. The secret messages, the lies, the betrayal, don't come back, ever." I knew she'd get it soon enough, and that realization would hit her hard. The silence that followed was deafening. She sat there, tear-streaked face and trembling hands, while I packed her bags in the bedroom. My stomach was tight with a mixture of anger and relief. I finally had a plan, a way to make her see what she'd lost. As she watched me move, I saw her lips tremble, and for a split second I wondered if she still thought she could fix this. But I knew better. She'd already gone too far. Now it was just a matter of waiting for her to realize what she'd thrown away. When everything was packed, I handed her the keys. "Go," I said simply, "and don't come back." She hesitated, then looked at me one last time with those sad, pleading eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Sorry doesn't cut it," I replied coldly. "You lied, you cheated, and now you're paying the price." As she left the apartment, the door clicked shut behind her, and I finally felt some semblance of control. That's when I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming myself from the ruins she'd left behind. I'd exposed her secrets, and now I would move on, stronger than ever. And as I sat alone in the silence, I realized one thing: trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. The lesson here: never ignore the warning signs when someone is hiding a secret. The silence in the apartment was suffocating. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the empty doorway where she'd just walked out. My hands were still trembling, but my mind was oddly clear. I'd done what I set out to do: expose her, make her face her own lies. Still, a part of me felt hollow. It was like I'd lost a piece of myself I'd never get back. In the days that followed, I kept my distance. No calls, no texts, just a cold, calculated silence. I needed to let everything settle, let her think she had control while I was quietly plotting my next move. I knew she'd be checking her phone, waiting for my reaction, but I was done playing into her game. One evening, I found myself staring at the evidence on my computer screen, the printed emails, the screenshots. I kept replaying her words, her lies, her promises, and I felt the anger simmering again. But this time it was different. It was sharper, more focused. I realized that revenge wasn't just about hurting her. It was about sending a message. She needed to understand that trust, once broken, never fully mends. That no matter how much she begged or apologized, I'd never see her the same way again. I decided to go beyond just leaving her. I wanted her to feel the loss, the betrayal, every single day. That meant turning her own lies against her, a slow unraveling that would leave her isolated and confused. I started by subtly sabotaging her new life, canceling her subscriptions, redirecting her emails, and making sure she'd feel the sting of being cut out without even realizing it. But I had another plan, something that would hit her harder than just petty sabotage. I wanted her to see that I was capable of more. I wanted her to realize she'd married a stranger, and that I wasn't going to be some pushover she could manipulate anymore. One night, I set the final piece into motion. I bought a burner phone and started messaging her from a different number, pretending to be someone from her past, someone who knew about her secret life. I kept it vague, mysterious, but enough to make her paranoid. I wanted her to believe she was being watched, that her carefully constructed lies were crumbling. I remember the first message I sent. "You think you're safe, but I know the truth. Things are about to change." I was careful to keep my tone cold and distant, playing the role of the unknown observer. Every day I sent another message, dropping hints, making her wonder how much I knew. The best part: watching her squirm. I'd see her pacing the apartment, checking her phone obsessively, flipping through her messages, trying to find who was behind it all. Her anxiety grew with each passing day. I could tell she was starting to crack, and that was exactly what I wanted. One evening, I finally sent her a message that made her panic. It read, "You can run, but you can't hide. I see everything." Her hands shook as she read it, and I knew I'd pushed her to her limit. That's when I finally decided it was time for the showdown. I arranged a meeting at a quiet cafe, somewhere she'd think she was safe. I wanted her to see me face to face, to feel the full weight of what she'd done. I knew I couldn't just show up and accuse her outright. I had to make her realize that I knew everything without screaming it in her face. My goal was to see her unravel, to see her realize she'd lost control of her own life. When she saw me across the table, her face went pale. She tried to compose herself, but her hands trembled as she sipped her coffee. I leaned in slowly, staring at her with cold, steady eyes. "You thought you could keep this hidden forever," I said softly. "You thought I'd never find out, but I did." She looked away, biting her lip. "Please." "Why?" I demanded. "Why did you do it?" She hesitated, then whispered, "It was a mistake. I did mean for it to go this far." "You lied about the trip," I said sharply. "You lied about everything, and my brother. How long has this been happening?" Her voice broke. "Almost a year. I was scared. You have to understand." "Understand?" I cut her off. "No, I don't. I trusted you. And now I realize I was just married to a stranger, a liar who's been hiding her real self." She looked like she wanted to say more, but the words wouldn't come. I saw the shame, the regret, but I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. I was finally seeing her true face, and I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. That night I left her sitting there, trembling, knowing I had everything I needed. The evidence, the plan, the power. I no longer cared about reconciliation. She'd lost me completely. Because, in the end, the worst thing I could do to her wasn't just divorce. It was making sure she felt the full impact of her betrayal, how it had shattered her world. And that's exactly what I was going to do next. Over the next few days, I stayed silent, letting her stew in her own guilt. It was like watching a slow unravel, her text to herself, her pacing around the apartment in the dead of night, her constant checking of her phone. I could see the panic in her eyes whenever she caught a glimpse of her reflection, as if she was trying to remind herself who she was. Deep down, I knew I could push her further. I'd already taken one big step, but this wasn't over, not by a long shot. I decided I wanted her to feel the full weight of her betrayal. Not just loss, embarrassment, shame, confusion. I'd already shown her I knew, but I wanted her to really believe I had the power to ruin her completely. That meant making her face the consequences of her actions in a way she wouldn't forget. I started by planting little things, small, almost invisible signals, that she'd notice if she looked closely. I changed her passwords on her accounts, set up fake emails, even redirected some of her social media notifications to my phone. Nothing obvious, just enough to make her realize someone was watching her every move. I watched her internal struggle every time she felt that quiet suspicion creeping in, and it fueled my resolve. Later that week, I arranged for one last dramatic move. I knew I couldn't just confront her outright again. She'd just deny, lie, and twist her way out of it. No, I had to make her face her own actions. So I contacted an old acquaintance, someone I knew who was good at uncovering secrets, someone who could help me make her life miserable if only for a little while. I hired a private investigator, not for anything sinister, just enough to expose her. I told him to dig up any dirt on her, anything that would make her realize I was serious. It was about making her feel exposed, vulnerable. I wanted the truth to hit her like a freight train, the same way her lies hit me. When I finally had the intel, I sat her down in the living room with a calm, cold voice. She looked nervous, eyes darting around, unsure what I was about to show her. I handed her a USB drive, watching her palms sweat as she hesitated. "Here," I said. "You might want to see this." She plugged it in, and her face blanched as videos and photos appeared, proof of her secret meetings with my brother, their conversations, her sneaking out late at night, her hiding her phone. I could see her hands tremble as she watched herself betraying everything we had built. "This is just the beginning," I said quietly. "You thought you could play me, lie to me, and get away with it. But I have evidence now, proof that you're a stranger to me, and I plan to use it." She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Please, I didn't mean for." Save it, I interrupted. You made your choice, now I'm making mine. I watched her fall apart in front of me, her defenses crumbling, her life unraveling. And I knew I'd crossed a line. This was no longer about just ending the marriage. It was about showing her what real consequences look like. I wasn't just ending a relationship. I was making sure she'd regret every lie she ever told me. That night, I packed her bags again, this time with a sense of finality. I handed her the keys, her face streaked with tears and shame. You're done here, I said, voice ice cold. Go start your new life, but don't ever come back. She looked at me, searching for words, but I turned away. It was over. I'd exposed her, I'd made her feel the pain she'd inflicted, and I'd finally reclaimed my dignity. As she walked out the door, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I knew I'd done what I had to do. Trust, once broken, can't be repaired. But I had taken back control. I'd made her realize she lost everything, her lies, her secrets, her illusion of control. And now I was finally free. The lesson I'll carry forward: never ignore the signs when someone's hiding who they really are. Because once trust is shattered, it's almost impossible to fix, unless you're willing to do what it takes to make them see they've lost everything. After she left, I sat alone in the apartment, the quiet feeling almost deafening. For a moment, I just stared at the door she had just walked out of, trying to process what I'd done, what I'd become. The adrenaline had cooled, replaced by a strange sense of calm mixed with a gnawing emptiness. But beneath that, I knew I'd made the right choice. She'd betrayed me in the worst way imaginable, and I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the finality settling over me. I called the moving company, handed over the keys, and watched as the movers packed her things. I had made sure she left with nothing but her shame and her broken secrets. When they took the last of her belongings, I knew my life was shifting into a new chapter, one I'd control from now on. As the truck pulled away, I stood on the sidewalk, watching her car disappear into the distance. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of liberation. I realized that true strength isn't just about revenge, it's about knowing when to cut loose and walk away. The betrayal had hurt, but it also showed me who I was, someone capable of standing firm in the face of chaos, someone who could finally see through the lies. I thought about all the lessons I'd learned through this ordeal. Trust is fragile, and once shattered, it's nearly impossible to mend. But what I learned even more was that revenge, when carried out with precision and purpose, can restore some sense of power. Not in a way that makes me feel superior, but in a way that reminds me I'm no longer a victim of her betrayal. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat on the porch, and watched the night settle over the city. My skin still prickled from the adrenaline, but inside I felt a quiet resolve. She had her secrets, her lies, her betrayal. I had my dignity, my clarity, and a future free of her deception. Looking back, I know I'll carry this lesson with me forever. Never ignore the signs, never let someone's facade fool you, and never allow betrayal to define you. Because sometimes the only way to truly move on is to confront the darkness head-on and take back what's yours. And I did. I took back my life. That night, I finally let go of the ghost of the woman I thought I knew. I closed the door on that chapter, knowing I'd never look back. The truth was out. The lies had been exposed. And I was finally free to rebuild, stronger and wiser than before.